Hello, my name is Brad Cooper, and I'm an arborist for the City of Everett, and today I'm going to be talking to you about tree planting. So this is a Tokyo Tower white fringe tree that we have here today, and we're going to be planting in some containers in our central business district. We're going to be planting these trees in these containers for about 3 to 5 years and then transplanting them into our parks. Before you start planting a tree, it's key to go out and first choose a location, and then you need to assess the site conditions of that location. So the things that you're going to be looking for are power lines, underground utilities, sidewalks, driveways, line of sight issues, building foundations. Another site consideration is your soil conditions, whether the soil is wet or dry, or the soil profile, is it sand, clay, or silt. You need to be looking at your space limitations. Do you have a large growing space or is it a small landscape? You also need to be looking at how much light you have. Is there partial shade? So all these conditions are really going to factor in to when you select a tree species. So after you've looked at your location, the next thing you need to do is figure out what you want the tree to do for you. Are you desiring ornamental flower? Are you looking to get fruit out of the tree? Do you want shade? All these things are all personal traits on what you want to get out of the tree. So once you've decided the location and what you want to get out of the tree, then you can start looking at species that fit those conditions. Now let's talk about how to inspect a tree at the nursery or wherever you're getting the tree from. Some things that you want to look at are the health of the tree. You want to be looking for nice, vigorous growth. You want to be looking for damage. Make sure that there's no broken branches or broken tops. You want to inspect the trunk to make sure that there's no damage or scars. And if possible, you want to be able to check the root system and make sure that it's well developed, that it holds shape. So our situation is going to be a little bit different than what you do at home. This particular situation, we are taking our tree out of this smaller grow bag and putting it into a larger grow bag. That way, when we transplant this tree in 3 to 5 years, it'll be contained and easier to move. When you plant at home, you won't have an extra grow bag. You're planting for the long term. So let's talk about planting for success. Starting with timing, fall and spring are going to be your best times to plant. You want to avoid the hot summer days and planting in the winter when the ground is frozen. The next step is preparation. Your hole size should be 2 to 3 times the diameter of the root ball, no deeper than the root flare. So your nursery stock can come in several different preparations. This particular one is in a grow bag. I'm going to start off with cutting off the twine and just the bottom of the bag. That way the sides will hold the root ball together as we lift it up into the container. It's very important to make sure that you remove all the twine or anything that's wrapped around the stem of the tree. If left, that can girdle and choke the stem. Now that we got the tree in our hole, I can come and cut right up the side here, peel this bag right off, and our root ball is still intact. We want to look and we want to find the root flare, where the stem begins to flare out and meet the top of the roots. And it's important not to plant trees too deep up the stem where moisture and other things can rot. Once you've found the root flare, that'll determine the depth of your planting. So this should be even with the level of your ground. So before you start backfilling, it's good to come in here and loosen up these roots and get them so they're facing outwards and not circling. Circling roots can lead to other problems in the future, so if left untreated, these can continue to circle around the root balls. It's good to get these lined out. Now when you start backfilling, you should use the same material that you pulled out of the hole. As you're backfilling, it's important that you get your tree straight and plumb, so make sure you step back at it, look at it at a couple different angles so you get it straight, and as you fill your material, you can lock it in at that place. We've backfilled up to the root collar and made sure that we maintain that root collar at or slightly above grade, we are ready for a nice 2 to 4 inch layer of mulch. So a mulch ring is a very important aspect of your planting. It'll help retain moisture when we water the tree. It'll reduce weeds in this, so there's less competition. And also, as this wood fiber breaks down, it'll release some nutrients back into the soil. So this is about 1.5 inch tree. We're gonna do the full container, but this would be about a 3 to 4 foot mulch ring. And it's important, just like the soil not being up the stem, you don't want the mulch pushed up the stem either. I see that a lot where we call them mulch volcanoes, where it's mounted up, and that's also very bad for the tree. So at this point, you may or may not need to stake your tree. It's not always necessary, and actually not staking the tree does provide a stronger tree. It allows the tree to move and grow a stronger root system and a stronger stem. If you're in a windy area, or if it's got a large canopy, you may have to stake the tree. And if you do have to stake the tree, it's important you make the stakes, the tree tie, tight to where the tree won't tip over, but not too tight that it doesn't allow movement. You want to make sure that all the little pieces of tape and twine and tags and tree guard material is all removed. Any of this stuff that's left could potentially damage the tree later on in the future. At the time of planting, limit your pruning to just dead branches or broken branches, but you need to make sure that you prune your tree while it's still young to establish good structure. So finally, at the end here, you got to use good judgment. You should always water your tree in at the time of the planting. Really take a look at the soil. If it's dry, you really need to water your tree in. As far as future watering, you need to water your tree until it's established, so about 3 years. You don't need to water it on a calendar schedule. Best thing to do is come out, take a look at the soil. When the soil dries out about 1 to 2 inches deep, then go ahead and water it and soak it for a nice deep soak. Make sure the water penetrates to the full root ball, about 1 foot down, and just keep an eye on it. Okay, thank you, and I really appreciate your time. I hope this planting was informative and helpful to you. And in case you didn't know, Everett's been recognized as a tree city since 1993, and this is a very fun event, and I hope that you enjoy Arbor Day and get out there and plant a tree and go enjoy our parks, and take care.